Well, it's all gotten started. Not once, but twice last night, Kyle Dubas began pushing the buttons that could lead to more by the NHL's trade deadline tomorrow afternoon. Good morning to you. Good Thursday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Penguins. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or baseball, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Pirates. Early last night, Dubas traded Vincent Desharnais to the Sharks for a fifth-round pick in 2028. Clear case of simply moving a contract, and I'm sure in their eyes, moving a player that they really didn't necessarily need. He then made a bigger move, sending Michael Bunting to the Predators for Tommy Novak, 27-year-old center, a legit center. Sometimes they just say people are centers because they can play different forward positions. He's an actual center. And Luke Schenn, who would need no reading of the resume to an audience like this. If you take these individually, they don't really amount to anything. If you take them together, they still don't really amount to anything. There's a bigger process at work. I'm not going to sit here and validate it in advance, but I am going to respect the approach because this is going to have to be the approach, meaning utilize every tool that's available in the modern GM's kit. Keep turning over pieces to try to get better with each individual overturn and keep amassing assets that are younger. Now, in Dubas's exchange via email with reporters who are covering the Penguins out in Las Vegas, including our own Taylor Haas, he sure came across as if Novak was the player that he wanted. And I get that. It feels like been seeing, hearing, and reading about Novak and his potential, even though he's 27 years old, for quite some time. He's a complete player. He'll do some scoring. He'll win you some draws. He'll follow his center when he loses it. He'll create some offense. But to reiterate from earlier, he is a center. And even if it's now starting to look like the Penguins are the B residence for Nashville youngsters who didn't necessarily make it with the Predators, so what? So what? You give Phil Tomasino a try. He comes through. You give Cody Glass a try. Does some good things, doesn't score enough. And along the way, instead of saying, we're going to sell off everything and bring in draft picks and everybody's going to be 18, 19 years old and super exciting because you don't know what you have in them. What happens is the roster just continues to get younger. And please note the tense there. Younger. Not necessarily young, certainly not youngest, but younger. One of the points that Dubas made at the time he was shouting into the wind with the Jake Ensel trade was that Bunting was younger than Jake and that was going to be something that they'd want to continue. Now, they also add Schenn, who's 35, who's played in about 5 million games, who's delivered 5 million hits, who seems like he's been in about 5 million fights for a guy who really doesn't get recognized as a fighter around the league, and who's now going to be playing for his 5 millionth team. Schenn, for anybody who doesn't know, is your classic character guy. He's been that in the league forever. He'll be that until he's done. He does have another year on the contract, and Dubas acknowledged last night that one of the reasons that he added Schenn was that he wants the Penguins to maintain their own culture and spirit and everything else while they go through what he yet again described as an evolution. I wouldn't read too much into that. I wouldn't read that into, for those of you who go way back, the Penguins bringing in Mark Bergevin to oversee a room full of toddlers in 2003 and 2004. Schenn will raise the toughness quotient on this team by several levels. And I mean all by himself. There are many benefits to that, including what you can show to the youngsters about what's needed to compete and, incidentally, what's needed to win the Stanley Cup, since he won it twice with the Lightning earlier this decade. More than anything, though, out of these two trades, the one thing that I take away is imagine trading Rickard Rakell now. right? Bunting, whatever it was that you thought of him, and I thought mostly good things, was your second line left winger. He was Gino's winger. So if you trade Rakell, unless you're getting one of those back, which doesn't seem all that likely, you're going to be all out of top 6 left wingers. You could bring up Ville Koivunen and, make him your science project for the remainder of the season alongside Sid or Gino, but I don't see that as being likely with Sid. If you think about it, he's never really been that guy. Gino's had more of those types than Sid has. But also, and not to repeat yesterday's program, but what would you be doing? Sid, Rakell, Brian Rust don't even add up to $19 million between them per year. And they are one of the more effective 5-on-5 first lines in hockey. You don't need to be saving any money, and you're going to need a real live first line if and when this thing does come together as planned. So we'll see. There's time between now and tomorrow to see how all this shakes out. When we come back, J1Q. This episode is brought to you by Bet Online, your number one source for all your summer sports needs this season, from Major League Baseball, golf, NHL, NBA playoffs. Get the latest odds and lines, including all team matchups, player props, odds on just about everything that's out there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Bet Online, where the game starts. Today's J1Q comes from Nick, who says, DK, this is a crazy seller's market in the NHL right now. It's nuts to think what a Derek Brassard might have cost this year. How many first-round picks is too few to trade Rickard Rakell? 1, 2, 3? I don't know, Nick, but we saw it again yesterday. I mean, any trade in which Oliver Bjorkstrand is your headliner and there are 2 first-round picks going in the other direction, you've got yourself a seller's market. That actually happened. Yesterday in a swap between Seattle and Tampa Bay, where it's just, here, I'll read you the whole thing. It's one of many that just kind of floors you. It's Yanni Gourde and Bjorkstrand and a 5th round pick going to the Lightning Bolts, and then Tampa's first round picks in the 2026 and 2027 drafts, and a 2nd round pick that they'd picked up from the Maple Leafs and Mikey Eissemont going. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's almost like first round picks have just become devalued in the NHL. Tampa Bay won't pick again until 2028. And no, Jim Rutherford has not left Vancouver to go take over the Bolts. So is it a seller's market? Sure, especially when it comes to first round picks. The Penguins have already found that out, getting one for Marcus Pettersson. How many could you get for Rakell? I mean, at this rate, like what? I don't know, 4 or 5? Who knows? I think he would be the main guy available on the trade market if he were out there. But I also think there's a reason for that. It's because he comes with value. And that's value to any of the 32 teams, including the one that's based right here in Pittsburgh. His next goal is going to be his 30th, and there's still about 20 games left. Who knows where he'll end up? It might end up being the most productive season of his NHL career. Even if he doesn't sustain that over the final couple years of his contract in Pittsburgh, he's still going to be really, really good. And he's still going to be getting paid $5 million AAV. So I'm going to reiterate my stance here and hope that the Bunting thing is, in fact, a precursor to Rakell not getting traded. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Penguins. We're going to have some fun here the next couple days, huh?